Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Cypher System rules by Monty Cook Games. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We're happy to have you with us on this journey of cosmic wonder. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living from the vast reaches of unknown space, are strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your game master. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond, and we are back with our Cypher tale, Into the Unknown, right under Children of the Periphery. It is an extension of that original season 1 story, and we have an amazing group of players to get to. Before we do that, though, the propers at the top, you can find us on all sorts of different social media platforms, but the one that supports the show the most would be our Patreon page. And so that's patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. If you like what we do, whether it's this space game or not, the best and most direct way to support the show is by Patreon. Now, you might say, I don't have a shekel or a dollar to spare, but I'd really like to support the show. I'll show you how you do it. Share our episodes, like our posts, talk to people about what we do, bring us up on Reddit in only the nice parts of Reddit, and really be a fan. It costs you nothing. And I'll be happy to call you a supporter any day of the week. And so will the rest of the cast, who are to my right.
This is Morgan, and I play Captain Amara Castra. Our pronouns are she, her, and Amara is a brash explorer who learns quickly. And last episode, Amara got some old school bourbon, and they poured one out to some lost friends and to some new friends. And we're on a trip.
You are on a trip. You have poured out your alcohol, and now people are wondering why you're making messes. Very good. Next to Captain Kazra.
Hi, this is Rena. I play Tamarisk Anvari. Our pronouns are they, them. Tamarisk is an empathic speaker who commands mental powers. And currently, Tamarisk is thinking about how we are the aliens.
A very salient point that was brought up last session. It's really a good perspective to understand that in this universe, environment, wherever you might be, you are certainly the outsider at the end of the table.
Hi, my name is Mare, and I play Cordelia Oren. Our pronouns are she, her, and she is a beneficent warrior who wears power armor. And so far, she thinks these, new crewmates are fine. Only minor suspicion, but, hey, what's a little suspicion between friends, right?
I mean, if there's no drama, how can there be conflict? Last but most certainly not least.
Hi, this is John. I'll be playing Fida. We both use he, him pronouns. And Fida is a mechanical explorer who talks to machines. And I think I built a blanket for it. And I had a wonderful time with my new friend.
Indeed you did. So we'll raise our curtain tonight back on the Periphery. No, not that one, the other one. We're going to step into the comfortable bunk space room on the Periphery of one Tamarisk Anvari. We're going to do so while they're asleep. But don't worry, everything will be perfectly fine. Because we're not going to see anything. It's only them that are going to experience it. Sleeping, Tamarisk, has been difficult for many reasons. You know, in your functions here as a counselor, a negotiator, someone who would offer words of wisdom in times of troubles, that part externally is very easy for you. You're intelligent enough to analyze situations and give advice as you see fit. But who quells your concerns? Who helps you mentally wrap that blanket around yourself and feel better? The problem is that the mental tricks that you know aren't they're not very workable on you because you know how to see around them. And your brain automatically offers the information that would undo said comfort because you know how the other side of it works. And so you don't sleep very well. There's this feeling that there is something coming. Something is going to arrive, and it will be very difficult for you to handle. Not because of any internal difficulties that you might have, but there are X variables to this equation that you don't control. And those variables are your own crew members. We saw it play out very recently with this being, which was a ball of flowing electricity. There was something inside of it, something that talked is the wrong word, something that gave an impression to your brain that there was a deeper layer to be investigated. And before you could do that, one of your crewmates shot it in half. And so you toss and turn a little bit. I don't imagine, even if you drank to salute the former and future crewmates, you would have done so to the point of intoxication. It doesn't seem to be your way. But floating here in the blackness of space, it's very difficult to feel like there aren't eyes watching you from somewhere afar. And so you're the first awake.
I wake up, slowly sort of move around, get dressed in proper clothes. Thank you very much. Not the awful jumpsuit type thing I had to wear yesterday when I first came out of cryo. That's discarded in a bin, hopefully forever. And I go to the chapel because I'm feeling isolated and I'm feeling confused a little bit, and I'm feeling that fear that I've had to tamp down in FIDA before, the strangeness of everything that's going on around us. And I sit sort of cross-legged in front of the messenger, trying to cope with all the emotions that I'm feeling right now, because I didn't let myself feel them yesterday. I couldn't feel them because we had too much going on. I feel anger at the violent solution to a problem I was just starting to be able to reach out to. I feel upset with FIDA for lashing out. I feel scared a little bit, although I won't admit much of that to myself. And I try praying, and I don't think I feel anything in response to my prayer. And that's terrifying in its own way.
Moreover, the space behind the icon, and maybe in some ways inside of the icon, feels hollow. It feels like a representation of something which used to mean something deeper. And that ebb and flow of absolution, comfort, pick an adjective, but whatever you used to get from it, you don't anymore.
It compounds the feeling of being lost a little bit, not just being severed from my home, my family, the people I loved, but I'm wondering what space there is for me, because I'm so used to having connections. The way I work is I have people I can call on. I know things. I know how the system works. I manipulate the system and the people in it. And that's all gone. Captain will always be a captain. FIDA will always have things to fiddle with. But what do I do in this whole new horizon that we found ourselves in? And the loss of the icons is symbolic of that loss.
Yeah, absolutely. The time in the chapel isn't without its benefit, though. You do find a way to cope. You do find a way to find center. And after a little while, you feel a presence behind you. Not direct, but there's someone here.
Who's there?
Rakam's voice pops into your ear. Oh, it's just me.
Hello, Rakam. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Time doesn't seem to mean much at the moment.
Yes, happy zone, I guess. Right?
That'll work.
You hear him step into the chapel. It's a little strange. You hear him step in, and then you realize that he likely only made the noise of him stepping in to benefit you because as a hologram, he doesn't actually make noise unless he decides to.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize he's doing this to make you feel comfortable because a regular, normal person would make noise when they walked. I was wondering why you were up.
Didn't sleep particularly well. There's too much going on. Too much newness. Too many uncontrollable variables in this situation. Hard to wrap my head around it.
I agree. I'm certain that the captain and Fida will also have some lingering effects from living in the third horizon. I find the worship of icons a little confusing sometimes, but I understand the purpose of religion. I just don't prescribe to it.
I don't think it's going to matter in this horizon. I think we've lost them.
Maybe lost is a heavy-handed word, but perhaps what you've done is transcend them.
That's a good word. I don't feel very transcendent at the moment, Rakam. And don't you tell anyone I said that.
He puts his, purple-tinged arms up, and you see like the flowing robes that he wears. Well, in this pattern, he looks like someone you would encounter on Coriolis, right? He doesn't at all look like he has a couple of different variations, but he has the flight suit version, which is usually like when he's working with Fida, he matches what they wear in engineering. He puts his hands up. I have no interest in spilling any of your secrets. It doesn't really bode well for a connected crew.
Nice to have someone I don't have to put my face on around, so to speak.
Well, change your face as much as you like. You're still you.
Am I? We'll see.
I mean, on a genetic level.
Yes, that's true.
We should be getting closer to signal time here. I'm pretty hopeful that the echo pattern that we're seeing is going to be a planet.
I hope so. Someone to communicate with in whatever fashion we're able to. I feel a little bit of trepidation, I suppose is the right word. Don't know that we'll be able to communicate. I don't know how to, don't know if speaking will be an option, but I'll do my best. People to learn from, learn about, interact with.
I hope that there's someone out there. Planet, even one which is hospitable, but has nothing on it, does not bode as well to me.
I'm trying not to think about the possibility that we might be isolated out here, Rakam. It's not a very pleasant thought.
Certainly.
But it is a possibility.
It is. And if that's what it ends up being, this crew is strong enough to hopefully find a place to set down and begin waking the crew that is here. There are, by the ship's count, over 1,100 or so people who might be able to be a good social fit. And if I might suggest, I don't know how many callbacks to the third horizon are really useful. I mean, perhaps amongst the group, but as you wake up some of these individuals, knowing that they've not only been a part of this seed ship for 200 years, but also missed out on hundreds of years of human history where there were wars and there were faction battles and massive technological advancements made, but none of which they can see. I'm not sure how useful that will be to them.
The thought had crossed my mind, especially we had our test subject with Cordelia. We don't need to educate them in the ways of a third horizon that we're no longer a part of. They don't need to know. We don't need to tell them everything, and we don't need to try to replicate any of it.
Oh, speaking of replication.
Yes.
I've been digging into some of the leftover cultural files that the seed ship has. There is a series of amazing stories that were once told on this home planet that they had. And it made me think that stories are really part of how we progress forward. I say we, of course, because I can only progress as far as the limits of the databases that I'm attached to. And I noticed the reaction from the crew last night when you had coffee was pretty telling. It reminded me that we were able to secure some coffee from one of the stops that we'd made when we were bouncing around so many different planets in the Third Horizon. That coffee is still in the canteen here, and it is probably slightly better than the stuff over on the seed ship. And so I took the initiative and prepared some for this morning. So if you'll make your way to the canteen, it's available for you.
I smile, like a true deep smile, not just the sort of polite or sarcastic one I normally have on my face. Rakam, you are a gem.
Oh, sure. He nods a little unsuredly. I need you all at your best, so this seemed appropriate.
I do appreciate it.
Fabulous. The rest of you, over a period of the next hour or so, do come out of your sleep cycles. I think that portion of it for you, Cordelia, is arresting. Because the last time you went to sleep, you were under for a few hundred years. And so settling down last night, even after, a drink or two and a meal and everything else like that, probably did still come with a little trepidation. So being in a place that is familiar, like the bunk on the seed ship, where, there are probably posters on the wall and other accoutrements that remind you of home, is helpful. But when you do wake up, you do sort of have to check your environmental surroundings again, make sure that you're whole, and then get bearings on, oh, right, I met these really wacky people yesterday.
Yeah. Cordelia is very familiar with routine of waking up, being able to set out, go and doing roughly the same thing each time. So as she gets up, checks herself, she does the basic thing of washing her face, combing through her hair as best as she can. There's certainly different basic toiletries that I would imagine that are in this type of a bunk suite. And then sets to do a bit of a morning workout routine. Nothing too crazy, nothing too loud in particular, but generic stretches, some plyometrics, anything to kind of get herself back into her body. And as she does so, as her body is busy, it starts to clear up her mind. And she's going through the lists, the questions, the to-do lists, the filing things in a way of the order that she needs to handle things. She has a lot of unanswered things at this time, but not all of them. Many of them are important, but not all of them are urgent. And she works to use this time busying her body to help straighten out her mind.
Yeah, that makes good sense to me. For someone who's such a enthusiast, I think the happy warrior mentality is very true. When you get your energy levels up, sometimes you even find it's a little hard to keep control of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you use the natural turning of that outer ring of the ship to act as a resistance method to move against. And that keeps you probably from getting out of control. Not that you're wild by any means necessarily, but when you get off of that sort of ring of exercise, you feel like you're ready to go for the day. And your padded suit has, some electronics on it. And one of it is sort of this clock. And day shift starts basically as soon as you stop exercising, it beeps. It's like, okay, it's time to go to work. And the joy that you feel by sliding back into like your older rhythms is noticeable. You're like, hey, cool. I'm ready to go to work. Let's go to work. And now you walk down the hallway and can do all the other things that our newest. But I would like to know, before we move camera, I would like to know what makes the top 3 of Cordelia's list of things that she needs to get sorted.
First on the list, even though this one kind of goes into the important, once they start arriving and getting closer to the source of the beeping, the source of the signal, she wants to get into assessment mode. So she wants to, assess for risks. She wants to ensure that if there are things like making sure hard suits would be available in case situations, the atmosphere is uncertain. Everything for her is wanting to make sure that when the crew gets to what they need to do, that they are in a position to be well. So she wants them to be well, both this new crew that she has, as well as seeing what needs to be done for the people. So that one is under her important and urgent, but that one has its time clock to it. For the others, just seeing that they have what they need, trying to get a feel for this crew. She is the type to have a benefit of the doubt on a lot of these things. Yes, they're saying weird stuff. Yes, she's uncertain about their intentions, but at this point, there's not too much that they can do that would put them, for her, in the sense of being risky. Like, no one's trying to unplug the colonists. No one's trying to jettison a bulb off or anything. So they're all in the same mindset of, let's make sure we get to a safe location. So she's wanting to do anything to kind of help this crew do their parts, because they can do things she can't, and do that. But third, so that, like, number 1 is getting them to this place and assessing the risk and make sure they're going to be okay. Number 2 is kind of not befriending, but like getting to know this crew, kind of seeping it together, gluing it together, kind of finding a place in there. Number 3, though, I think is for her, when she has spare moments, she's going to try and dig through what she can to find out what happened to the ship. And to find out, anything that may not have been picked up on their first look through for ship's logs, kind of digging into the black box, if it were, or as it were.
Yeah, I like that for sure. Okay. So, Captain Kazra, your sleep cycle is over, and there is a note from Rakam on your readout in your captain's quarters that says, "Fresh coffee awaits you in the canteen, Captain."
Right, so I wake up and I change clothes, because I'm pretty sure I passed out with whatever clothes I came over. I think we changed at some point into something less messy, but I'll change into my own clothes, something I feel comfortable in. And I will not have to check any messages, because nothing's going to be able to reach us from the third horizon. And so I will go out to the canteen and grab some coffee.
Okay, you go out to the canteen, grab coffee. While you do, Tamarisk is there enjoying their coffee.
Good morning.
Good morning, Captain.
Get much sleep?
Oh, enough.
Okay. Everything okay? Other than being stuck in another universe? Or...
Everything's fine, other than being out isolated alone in the middle of space, coming up on a potential planet where we don't know anyone or anything. It's fine.
I know. It's a little stressful at the moment.
Stressed? Who's stressed? I'm not.
Oh, I am. Well, it is normal to be stressed. Being in an unknown place, we have each other. I think we'll make it through any situation that we have come upon us, good or bad. And we will succeed in our new mission, I guess this is. Help guide these people to a new planet. I mean, that's my hope.
New mission statement.
Yeah, I'm trying to be positive and not, oh my gosh, we're gonna die. That's what I'm trying to not to think about.
Fida, You don't sleep comfortably, mostly because the bunks here really never have fit you. You sort of have that huge guy problem, which is nothing fits ever.
Standard sizes do not serve. Might have to customize a room for myself.
Yeah, you wake to that thought, mostly because when you wake and sit up in bed for the 100th or so time, you rack your head on the ceiling that's above the bunk because, of course, it's a bulkhead. They had to fit stuff there.
I do think Cordelia hears a muffled and through the wall. Possibly a muttered string of curses after.
Yeah, watch out for that.
Oh yeah, you gotta get used to those bunks. But yeah, once he gets up, he, makes his way over, checks to make sure that he doesn't have a goose egg. Thankfully, his forehead seems to become battle-hardened, and the tattoos, he's still not used to seeing the tattoos. As far as he's concerned, he's only had, this bad for, 2-3 days, maybe, tops. It's not even a week for him. So he's just like, well, I know they've been there a while, but it's still a stranger in the mirror. My face looks completely different to how it always did. I mean, facial tattoos are new. Next up on the list of things to worry about is that I cannot remember all the stuff I used to know. Which, again, I've known for less than a week, but is still... I hadn't even adjusted to having it. Now I have to adjust to not having it. Might want to talk to Tamarisk about that. They probably know some kind of way. They'll probably frame it in some way that'll be easier than just not thinking about it. Other things to do today, maybe try and see if I can optimize the scanners on the front of the ship. They might be a bit out of, they could just maybe need a bit of realignment to help with how old they are. Maybe there's something I could do to, help with that. I mean, something short of taking things off of Rakam and the Periphery and putting them on this Periphery. I don't want to do that. For one thing, I don't know if there's even the connector. These are just the thoughts that are going through Fida's head as he does his washes his face in the morning. He does put back on the jumpsuit of yesterday, the space crew jumpsuit for whatever program launched the Nadir and the Zenith. And he's just kind of looking around and he's just like, I mean, it is well made. It's just old. That's all. It's just old. Can't be helped.
Sure.
I mean, there's, he's seen a lot of ships. He's just like, look, this one's, it's what, all the work is up to scratch, except for, it's hard to tell where Altane's work ends and, damage might begin, but he's pretty confident there's probably a reason now that he knows that he's actually on, less than a fifth of the size of the ship originally. He's just like, I'm sure there's a reason. He seems to have been a decent guy. He wouldn't have gone off and just done this without some kind of reason. And I guess I can't ask him.
No, the radiation that he received from, the portal transfer was probably, several hundred times what the human cells should carry. And that's the sacrifice that Altane chose to make.
Yeah, no, he knew it was going to happen. He knew it was going to be fatal. Didn't know how it was going to be fatal, but he did know, in fairness to him. So yeah, I mean, Fight is just kind of trying to reckon with some of that stuff going on in his head. And he's just kind of trying to figure out where to start.
That's a great question. Start with breakfast.
It's keep it simple, stupid.
So post-breakfast and post-coffee, across your connected communicators, comm says that we're just about up on signal time. So if we could assemble in the bridge, that would be helpful.
He's not wrong. I think I have to go off Cordelia's communicator because mine is out of action.
Oh, it's just being used.
Yeah. I mean, it's otherwise occupied, right? Got to figure out somewhere to put this so that it's actually safe-ish.
Yeah, sure, it'll be fine. Nothing bad will come of that, I'm positive.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it definitely couldn't just randomly explode in my pocket. Probably shouldn't even keep it in my pocket, if I'm honest. Okay, he's just asking Cordelia, so how did you sleep? Good.
Oh, yeah. No, it was great. Hadn't slept like that in a while. Well, I mean, I guess I've been sleeping like that for a while. And she's not had her coffee yet, but is still just as, like, springy as if she had.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, no, I mean, I guess I don't know how I slept because it's been a while. For me, I guess it's only felt like 2 sleeps, but it's been 200 years. Anyway, yeah. How about you? How'd it go? I heard the clunk earlier. You got to watch out for that. It gets us all the time.
Yeah, no, that's actually I've got to either train myself to roll out of it.
Yeah.
He just kind of shrugs at her. He's like, I mean, look, what are you going to do? I mean, I could sleep in the old Periphery, but I mean, I guess this would be the...
Yeah, no, well, and also, yeah, and you can see she kind of like stretches a little bit, just kind of doing that, speaking casually as she can. Just, yeah, and thanks for sticking around last night. That's it's kind of nice of you. I know you probably would have preferred to go back to, your place and everything. Like the others went back on the ship. I'm sure you got spots there, but it was nice having the company. I appreciate it.
He gives you a little smile. He's like, well, look, I mean, I know we're not strictly speaking part of the crew, technically, on paper, but I have a responsibility to this ship, and a responsibility to you, and I'm going to be on board the ship that I'm going to call home. He just kind of shrugs. He's like, makes sense to me. I can always get to the little Periphery from this one, and the other way around too, but it's easier if I'm just on board here. We'll have to figure out the bunk situation, though.
Yeah, and you see that she starts to smile and it's just like, well, no, it's that. I get it. I also feel certainly responsible for the lives that are here on this ship. I want to make sure wherever we're going, they're going to be okay. Same for you guys as well. We're all somewhere we don't know where we are. And and she starts making her way over towards her power armor. And she's like, and I'm going to do my part. I'm going to make sure that whatever thing, if Tamarisk cannot speak to it, I will make sure that it doesn't get a chance to do anything else to us. And just continues to like slip herself into her armor with things latching together.
I do think Fida has like a weird moment from like seeing her out of the armor where he's just like, she's so small.
She's very petite. She's that kind of gymnast petite where she's compact. There's definitely some muscle under there. Of course, the padding continues to like give the illusion of like, is it really muscle? But, she's not feather light and, looks like she could hold up in a scrap. You could probably, even if like in this light, see like little tiny nicks, like maybe like the remnants of a busted lip, like scar from however long ago. And just her hands for being in the power armor are a little calloused. They just, she's a working girl and she has been. And it gives the impression that perhaps she was well before she joined up with the Legionnaires into the life of service.
I think for now, Pida's main thought is like, it's so weird. It's the same person, but smaller.
And happier and perkier.
Yeah, and not like suspicious that I'm going to kill her in her sleep.
She wasn't concerned about that.
I feel like it might have been a concern at some point since we met.
I think it's probably that fine line of Legionnaire, like, hey, for all the help that she has, she's still a Legionnaire. So there's probably that like arrogance that came from training to a certain extent of, I'd be fine. I'll figure it out if anyone tried to, like anything can be a weapon if you try hard enough.
Yeah, there's probably a part of her overall character as Legionnaire that is somewhere, maybe deep in the recesses of Cordelia's subconscious, is very few people were picked to be Legionnaires. I'm not a one of one, but maybe I'm a one of 100, and that matters. So that probably is what gives her not like a bullying overconfidence, but at least not for her, but yeah, definitely a certainty. And yeah, her frame and her overall body type, even if she's got the gymnast aspect to it, she has to be strong enough and have enough. She has to have enough size and overall shape to move in the power armor. And so yeah, that's probably part of it too. So what I'll do is, like soup, add good ingredients to make better soup, and that is, so while the two of you are catching up and going to the bridge, we'll assemble our crew in total on the bridge. Coffee in hand for those who are religious like some of us. Rakam materializes on the view screen.
Oh, crap. And she just kind of jumps every time he shows up at first.
Hey, sorry about that. It's the only box I really get to be in around here. There's no holographic emitters, so I can't really appear any other way.
No, it's fine. Just
Retrofitting those would be expensive. We don't have that kind of resources.
Okay. He sighs.
Unless you want me to gut the periphery and then put them all over here.
No. Don't get crazy.
No, see, that's what I thought.
Got the periphery. You better have the captain's permission.
Fire looks at you with a little smile, because he knows that Rakam can't really. It doesn't have the same monitoring of us as he usually would have. So he's just kind of fucking with him a little bit. It's fun.
Okay, so let's bring this up, shall we? So I'm going to present a challenge rating 4 task to the group. And as I do that, that will be calling up all of the scientific data through the different stations. And so this is something where multiple people could certainly be used to accomplish it. And then I just need to know who is going to lead this sort of this process. So anything trained as far as scientific skills or the use of machinery is possible as the person leading it. And then we'll see who wants to add into the mix.
I was going to say, I would be happy to take the lead on this one.
Cordelia has the data jack, if that helps with any sort of anything else.
Okay, so go on. Vida, give us a roll.
That's a 7.
Okay. So you work at it for a little bit, and the virtual sort of assistant in your ear, you can see and feel Rakam watching you work from the station.
I kind of like that he knows that we can't make eye contact. I kind of like that. Normally he does that for me, and I actually really appreciate it. But I also know that he's kind of trying to get my attention a little bit, and I'm just focusing on what I'm doing.
Okay, so a 7 is what was rolled. Now it was a difficulty 3 task, so 9 was required. My question is Vida the type of person that will spend those might points to get down to 6 and thus a success?
Vida is the type, especially with something this important, because he, based on past experiences and how they've treated him, Vida now hates surprises. So I will absolutely spend the 3 intellect points to bring this down. I'll have to recuperate after this, but
Yeah. With a full rest, you would have gotten a D6 plus 1 back. So go ahead and roll that before. That would be for any of our characters who have rested since last night. So your down pool points, go ahead and give yourself a rest.
You get a +1 with a recovery roll since you've spent a day with me.
So I got 4 back, so I'll just spend 3 of those. And I'll spend the dice roll. Oh, wait, sorry. Plus the 1 from you, so I get 5 back.
Yep.
Right. So I'll spend the 3, and now we passed the level 2 difficulty of the check. Yeah.
You do. It takes you a little work. You have to work at it. But eventually on the screen, you get a little bit of an inconsistent and blurry image. And what you get is about the size of the tip of your pinky. You get a white, bright image. It's a circle.
Folks, I think it's a planet. He's just kind of squinting and he's like, I'm pretty sure it's a planet. I mean, we'll have to get closer before I can be sure of that, but I mean, so far, it looks like a planet. Does this thing have... And he's kind of thinking, he's like, what would I use to figure out, atmosphere and things? From fact, what do ships use to do that? He's just kind of I know that our periphery has it. This periphery probably had it, but might not anymore. Might have shot drones or something back then. Heck, who knows? He's maybe they would have shot basically a torpedo full of sensors. towards the planet to take readings or something like that. But whatever it is, he's pretty sure he just has radio now. It's just kind of like, all right, well, I'm not 100%, but I do think it would be worth our while to leave the ship on this trajectory, get aboard our Periphery, and then scout ahead. I think that's the best way to do it because it has better sensors, it has all the gear, it'll be able to give us atmospheric composition, it can make planetfall if needed, it's faster so it could get away before... I mean, technically she's a blockade runner, right? I think that'll be the first time that he said that out loud in a while. He's just like, technically she's able to run blockades and all that, she's also got a gun. Things this ship full of people doesn't. And that's why I think maybe we'd be better off taking her out. And the idea that was floated last night, do a quick scouting mission and come back. Get the data we need, come back.
I would feel more comfortable, too, if we did get more data about this to see if there's anything akin to life signs, anything akin to energy, whatever, if it is occupied or if it's not. Yeah, I was not in charge of that. Normally, the folks down the hall would figure these types of things out. Your kind. I would just be boots on the ground first to make sure nothing jumps out at us. What do you guys think?
Well, I think we need to send more than one person to be boots on the ground.
Think I should go.
Well, I think we should all go, if I'm honest. I mean, look, here's my thinking. One of us won't be able to fix this ship on their own or keep it stable on their own, right? So two of us couldn't. Four of us, if we're being honest, can't really do that. Look, I figure we can leave this ship on a slower trajectory. We can slow down the acceleration, have it more or less automated to go into orbit if we don't get back in time. But we all go out, we scoot, we do whatever we need to figure out what the situation is going to be, and we come back before it reaches the planet, ideally. Our Periphery is that much faster than this ship. So I think we can pull it off with little to no hassle. The issue is going to be something happens, we're on a ship that can actually do something, and we can get back here in time to divert course to, look at whatever we need to do. But if we go out, there's only two of us, and, I know, Captain, you can fly the ship, I can fly the ship. Tamarisk, I don't think you can, and Cordelia, I don't know if you can fly or not. So he's just like, I don't like the idea of a ship being left dead in the water when it has, we'll also have Rakam with us. He won't be left here. He's only interfacing remotely with this Periphery. So, I think there's a lot to it, it is high risk, but I think it's the lowest risk of a series of high risk calls, if that makes sense to everybody. Besides, this planet might not even be worth stopping at. It could be just, gas and methane, and he just shrugs it. He's like, could just be stuff unfit for humans.
Makes sense to me.
Thank you. Again, I'm not going to try and push it too much. I think it's the least unsafe option of a set of unsafe options.
And we'll leave Rakam on the colony ship.
We can't really. He's integrated into our Periphery. He's in every single system on that ship. I don't think we could. He's like, unless I left like a series of beacons or buoys to relay his signal back here, I don't think that it will be easily done.
You can see that Cordelia has a couple moments where she opens her mouth to say something, goes, never mind. Like, you can see the entire flow of thoughts as she's like, And she goes, okay, what if we woke someone up?
It's just kind of like,
someone who knows how to fly it, someone who knows how to keep it going, someone who could be on the other end of the line.
A couple of reasons I'm not a fan of this. One, we have to feed them. They use air. They'll want some of the coffee.
Yeah. I mean, I get that.
I think we're also having, going by yesterday, some difficulties with the waking people up thing. I'm not sure we'll be able to wake just one person up.
That's fair.
And we can't have a bunch of people running around on the ship right now. We just don't have the resources for it.
Also, we'd have to take the time to get them out of cryo safely and treat them. And, I mean, to do that safely, we'd need to take someone from the medical team out. And to do that, that would take, up to 6 hours, I think, something like that, if we did it properly.
Cordelia shrugs. She was like, it was just an idea. If we're running out of people to, get the ship.
Oh, no, it's a good idea. It's just that in this circumstance, I don't know that it is the best one.
Mm-hmm. No, that's totally fair.
And he's just like, and besides, I kind of looks over at the dud tube, and he's just like, I don't want to take any risks with the cryo system if we can avoid it. I think best left untouched is best left safe. Might be the best.
Cordelia is very much in the sense of, listen, I'll be wherever you guys need me to be. I personally would want to be able to help in case anything goes south as first contact. That was my initial purpose here. Within that, I want to be able to help in that instance. That being said, if you need someone to stay behind, you could, but... And she just kind of gestures within her power armor. I'm here to help, in whatever capacity you need. And she would look between the three of them, because ultimately, when it comes down to it, Cordelia does make decisions, but these are not subordinates to her in this. And in this case, she is kind of the grunt that would be taking the orders on where she would need to be best suited, because her specialty is not in deciding who stays and who goes. It's saying, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, Malige. Yeah, how best do I get the job done once the job has been decided?
To be completely honest.
That's fine. Are there security measures on the colony ship here, Cordelia, that will protect those in cryo?
Essentially what was in place when you all found the colony ship. So in theory, in whatever state you found the ship in, it should be able to maintain that status unless anything else were to affect it from the outside. So if there's a way we could get perhaps into orbit around the planet?
So just from my position here, my view screen position, Rakam says, you have a couple of opportunities. A short scouting flight probably isn't a terribly bad idea. I can't stay here, but just looking around, if we continue on this path, we're going to end up at whatever planet that is. The Periphery, our Periphery, is way faster than this ship. We'll be able to go and scout and do what we need to do and get back. Do we run the risk that there might be a rogue vessel out here that intercepts the colony ship and decides to do something with it? Sure, that it's a possibility. The other possibility we run into is that we don't do anything, we sit on our hands, and then the ship comes into orbit around a planet that isn't sustainable. We're working with every available moment of oxygen for all of you. And so if we have to change course, we need to know to change course as soon as possible. I don't see anything externally that's going to prevent you all from jumping in and taking a road trip or whatever you would call it.
It's just like, yeah, just a little... We'll just take her for a spin. Just make sure the engines are still working. It'll be 2 in 1.
And no, I can't stay back because the interface isn't the same. The computer core is not made to hold something as complex as my program. Put it on the list, right?
It's just like not upgrade a 200-year-old computer for your weird architecture. I'm good, but I'm not that good.
Like weird is like an assault. So
you're unique, one of a kind. And as he's saying, he's thinking, he's like, he actually is very unique. He actually is one of a kind. Literally no other ship like this exists. I'm in circulation.
Plan.
Joyride. Any fail-safes on this ship that you can rock on from the computer system side? Being available, and then let's get on the Periphery.
A weird look. Okay. And then the view screen blinks out.
I should have given him some limitations before.
Keep him busy. It's good to give him something to do.
What is he gonna do?
I don't know. It might be somebody touches a button the wrong way and they get electrocuted. I don't know what he's doing.
Have any fail-safes on him?
No, we don't need it.
He's people. He's people.
It's a useful term.
There's Cordelia's eyes just narrow once again.
And Fight is just like, look, I used to have real trouble with Rakam. However, I will say, he's a former military AI. He knows the importance of protecting his crew. He just kind of gives you a shrug. He's like, and I mean that from experience. He will not fuck around.
Okay.
Will also not do something that would endanger the crew and passengers.
Because if he does, I'm running a magnet across his hard drive.
Fido leans in and he's like, be careful. Sometimes when you talk about threatening his hardware, things fall on your head.
Group gets assembled down into the Periphery itself. Much more be actually accustomed to the sense that there are chairs with like straps for like, making jumps to different systems, locations. Wide enough that there is there's actual space on the bridge to walk around. Screens that are here are very informative, and they tell you things that like a lot of data here. And in some ways, it's a little overwhelming at first to take in all that. You have to go out and actually holding some magnetic clamps off the ship, so that way it can actually take off.
Have to try and use the vacuum pumps to get the air out of the hangar bay, that it doesn't get lost into the void in an explosive decompression. Yeah, there are multiple steps involved, but we get through them. There's a checklist. Like everything else that I work on, there's a checklist.
Yeah, absolutely. And after the checklist is complete, foods to the seed ship to have it open the hangar bay is easily done. Can at least handle that. And in the ship, you feel the change in the position that you're in because the ship moves a little bit, like without vectoring or thrusting or your work. And so what I'd like to know is who is going to pilot us out?
I'll do it.
I think this is probably a difficulty to test because it's something that would normally be pretty hand waveable. At the first attempt, that you're going to have to work for it a little bit.
I must have piloted this ship before.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 13.
Okay. You take off and exit the hangar bay. And as you exit, the door closes behind you. And you are in the depths of space on the side of this frankly beautiful vessel that you're nestled to. Frame is a beautiful red and black swirls of paint. This is something, interestingly enough, you have seen before, Cordelia, because you saw this ship when it was in dry dock. You saw them when they were making it. But seeing it again doesn't lose any impact. This is home. You're flying away from home. And the boost from the thrusters when you surge forward, there's a little bit of lag from the internal, gravity controls. And you can feel yourself get pressed back into the chair as you hurtle forward past the nose of the Periphery. You see the bulb from the outside and that bridge tip point that's there. And if you stare real hard out the window, you can see the circular bridge that's there where you were not but 20 minutes ago. And on forward, the crew goes. Getting to what awaits you, you bridge the gap, the distance and the space, probably in about 3 hours or so. So there is some flight time. You are able to get up and obviously move about the cabin safely, which you could choose to spend your time between any place, engineering, the arboretum, the galley that's here for meals if people get hungry. There are spaces. If you decide to investigate the ship, Cordelia, there are spaces that are bunks that are empty. And so that's sort of strange to see. It's a lot cleaner than a pirate ship. You would think that a pirate ship would be sort of dirty. People wouldn't take care of it, but this place seems to be pretty well put together. So does the crew. And it really isn't more than just that space and time of a few hours before you start to approach a wondrous blue and green marble that sits against the backdrop of space. And the closer and closer that you get to it, two things become unerringly true. One, it is a big planet. And two, and almost unbelievably, there is water on this planet as massive beds, whether they be oceans or lakes and spaces, are available to you to see. You don't see any moons, but Rakam hones in and puts on several of the screens that there is this sort of flat platform with a few different protrusions from it that seems to be in orbit of the planet. And on one of those protrusions, there's a very tall series of antennas, which have lights and all sorts of things on them.
All right. So, and he just turns, he's like, Tamarisk, you mentioned having a first contact protocol. I assume this was something you folks like yourself probably covered in college. And he kind of just gives you a big shrug. He's like, any thoughts? I mean, how would we express that we are peaceful to... I assume that's the angle we're taking, by the way. I just assumed that.
I would hope so. Side-eye at Cordelia.
Cordelia lifts her hands like, what? I was trained in first contact protocols as well. Granted, they seem to have been from a different time than yours. But I was trained in social interactions as well. If they don't attack us first, we'll be fine.
So we try sending a message. It's unlikely they'll understand us, but using a calm, neutral tone of voice, indicating lack of hostility. Not that I'm calling anyone out, but too much energy might be taken the wrong way.
Cordelia sits back and folds her hands, her power armor gloved hands, into her lap, purposefully.
Okay. So I love this for you, Tamara. So you're going to attempt to communicate with the satellite or the platform, whatever it is?
Yes, essentially. Hoping that there will be some kind of response.
Okay. So this is a little bit of different technology, but not on your end. You are used to manning the communication station on the ship. So I will say that for the purposes of this, that asset is something that will bring down the difficulty. You are attempting to make a clear communication to this station, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to put that at difficulty 4.
Oof.
Because of the alien nature of this location. Now, your trained ability will bring it down to a 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's 9 or better.
Okay. Here we go. 11.
Fantastic. I am, however, going to intrude on this scene.
Of course.
Because an intrusion here feels wonderful. So I'm going to offer you 2 experience, 1 for you and 1 for a player of your choice.
Give 1 to Cordelia.
Okay, you will give 1 to Cordelia. You begin to communicate. What I'd like you, the player, to do is let us know what Tamarisk is going to say.
Greetings. This is the crew of the ship, the Periphery. We come in peace. We're hoping to establish communications with you. Please respond. And I just repeat the message in very calm, very neutral, not robotic, but just as putting as much soothing into my voice as I'm able to do to try and convey a message of lack of hostility.
What you get back is not what you're expecting. A series of clicks and an almost chittering sound comes through the deck and the speakers here. But worse than that, I'm going to ask you to defend yourself against a rating 4 mental attack.
That's not good. What do I need to roll?
So it's a challenge rating 4, so it's just a d20 roll. Right now it's 12 or better. And so this keys in on anything you might have that would help you be resistant to mental attacks would be what you want to look for, or potentially spending effort.
Okay. So I do have a vulnerability to it, unfortunately.
Okay. So tell us about that.
So being so receptive to others' thoughts and moods makes you vulnerable to anything that attacks your mind.
Okay. So vulnerable.
Listed as inability on my character sheet.
Yes, inability. So that is a speaker thing?
Because I'm empathic.
Empathic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If a task is hindered, it increases the difficulty by 1 step. So this rating 4 attack becomes a rating 5 attack. And so now you need a 15 or better to overcome it. Give us a roll.
17.
Fabulous. So would you like the good news or the bad news first?
Good news first?
The good news is you are able to hang on to the communications, that desk, that piece of equipment there, the monitoring station, long enough to ease yourself down. You don't fall flat and you don't pass out immediately. So this attack comes in and it is going to deal you some mental pool damage. So you are going to take 6 points of intellect pool damage.
Ow. That's all on a success.
Yes. You have a question, Mary. Yes, please. What is your question?
I have the special ability of altruistic. If you're standing next to a creature that takes damage, you can intercede and take 1 point of that damage yourself, reducing the damage inflicted on the creature by 1 point.
Would you like to do that?
I would like to do that for my dear friend Tamarisk.
Okay. So you see Tamarisk begin to falter at the station. And without a single thought other than to help, you leap to grab them. And when you do, you feel this effect. You feel some sort of residual energy come off of them, and you get really dizzy all of a sudden. So, Tamarisk, go ahead and reduce your pool damage by 1, as Cordelia has accepted some of that for themselves.
Okay.
And you are, we'll just say, a little impaired at this point.
How does healing work when you have healing or when you have damage to your pool? Because I'm trained in healing.
So the way you recover pool points is through certain points of the day. So there are different ways to get pool points back in what we would call recovery. And so on your character sheet, you should have a point on your character sheet where it talks about recovery rolls, right? So there's one in an action, as if you're in a combat. You can take one that costs you 10 minutes worth of time, a third one that costs an hour worth of time, and then one final one that costs 10 hours. So if Tamarisk wanted, they could roll a d6 immediately and recover a d6 pool points as sort of a snap reaction, deep breath, and be back in the game.
So I can do that now?
You could if you wanted to. We're not technically in combat rounds because that's not what's going on here.
Sort of a deep, shuddering breath, but I only get one.
Okay. You get one back. It feels like somebody took a sledgehammer to your brain. And worse yet, you can't tell whether or not there was intent behind it. So you don't know whether or not it was like malicious or not.
There's definitely someone there.
Are you all right? You should take a seat.
Oh, pounding in my head. Oh, icons.
Cordelia would support Tamarisk as much as they would allow in this, like with an arm extended and perhaps one on their back as well.
Thank you. I don't know if they intended to hurt. There's no way to know.
Weird. That felt very weird. I did not like that.
No, not a fan.
Is the skittering and chittering still coming through the speakers? Or no, that was just a burst.
Yep. Yes, Captain.
Are you able to interpret anything that they were saying?
I'm not sure they were saying anything. I don't know anyone or any creature that speaks in chitters. What I can tell you is that when that message came through the relay station that the original beeping was coming from, it lit up like the marketplace on Coriolis. It was bright, super bright for a moment.
So is the chittering coming from the relay station itself, or is it bouncing off from the planet, coming through the relay station?
I don't know. You'll have to investigate it. I can't tell you. We can get close to that platform and see if there's a method of getting in, but there's no way to tell you what's in it before we do that.
Are we able to scan for weapons or any sort of energy charging that might look like weapons?
Sure. You can make a difficulty 3 sensors roll if you'd like, Captain.
Okay. However, is anybody trained in sensors? I don't know if that was an actual...
I am trained in anything to do with electrical machine.
All right, Fida. Can you check and see if there's any weapons on that relay station or energy surges beyond what we saw?
Yeah, I'm going over it over the feed now. Let me have a look.
Thank you. I go over to Tamarisk to check on them.
I've got my head in my hand, so look like I've just been in reacting as if I'd just been in a fight.
Cordelia moves out of the way so that Captain Amara can get closer.
Okay. So just give me a sensors roll here.
Beat you to it, Mike. I got a 10.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, so you don't see any operable weaponry. It does look like the platform at one point may have had some sort of series of weaponry based on it, but they've either been long since unused. A couple of them look like they may have gotten blasted off.
I'm seeing damage on the hull, yeah.
Yep. You do find that this platform does seem to be rated or perhaps outfitted with a couple of different ports that one could potentially use as entry.
Okay. So like airlocks, right?
Yeah, like airlocks.
I'm like, okay, well, cool. We have, an airlock on our hull for docking procedures if we needed to. I don't know we want to go aboard the thing that just caused my crewmate, who I've always known to be pretty calm, strange, horrible pain. But, if we wanted to.
Yeah, I think before we go down on the planet, which might be... I would think we would go down on the planet.
The ultimate thing we were aiming to do was to find a place for the colony ship.
No, I'm just like, well, look, I think we could, it's possible some of our instruments can do a reading from here, but I'd like to maybe go down, get some air samples and do a couple of scans. We'd suit up.
I could also do that as well. And with my armor, I have more of protection than the standard spacesuits would. So if you need a first line, and I will, and she takes her hands off of where the weaponry would be and just kind of has it, keeps the latches on them. It's like, I promise not to do anything that would disrupt them unless they come at me first, which would be my right in self-defense and for the defense of you. That being said, if we have particular scientific samples or something that we would need, and if we are in fact going past that, gesturing to the relay station, successfully and without harm coming to this vessel, then I would happily do that in order to keep you guys from being put into too much danger.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I will point out that the weapons on that platform, the ones that remain, they're definitely not tracking us, and I don't think they're powered on. Because I'm looking at them, and they're all pointed in. Like, in my head, I have them pointed in different directions, but I could be wrong in that. Where it's like...
Yeah, no, they are. They're definitely pointed in different directions.
He's just like, I don't think they're... I think they're just left as they last were used. Possibly during some kind of attack.
Did you do a life science reading as well, Fido? On the relay station?
I just looked at guns, Captain, but I can have a look.
Can you do that, please?
Yeah, a pass of the same sort of internal or the same sort of sensor readouts doesn't show any life signs on it.
I think it might be a good idea to check out the relay station. It would give us an opportunity to investigate what these creatures might, if that was an automated message from them, if that was relayed from the ground on the planet.
Or if there would be any sort of reading of whatever kind of energy that they have coming from their planet, too. Like if that's, whether it's electrical, nuclear, fossil fuel, something like that, too, to get some sort of idea of levels of advancement. There's clearly life, but what are we working with? And that would help me a lot to make myself a little more, glances towards Tamarisk, approachable.
Well, look, I'm just going to bring up that our purpose here today is as a scouting mission. We do not want to engage. By turns Tamarisk, he's like, even if what just happened wasn't intentional, I do think it is a sign of some kind of intelligent life. And I think for now, maybe we give them a bit of a wide berth. We get the information we need and we figure out what we're doing. We can, find out. I mean, it looks like water. We just need to figure out, is there going to be, metal poisoning or contaminants that we need to figure out? Is the planet does it have an atmosphere that we could breathe? Would we have to take the water up in not buckets, but he just says you might have to use buckets to bring it up, and he's using just like a slang term. He doesn't mean literal buckets, he means like tankers.
We don't want to bring the ship here without knowing if the life here is hostile or not, and I feel like checking it out would help. Because even if the water is drinkable, even if the air is breathable, bringing the ship into a potentially hostile situation is not a good idea. I think we need to know that first.
Right, but my thought is we can leave our ship on the other side of... as far as I can see, this is the only platform in orbit around this planet. We could leave the Periphery on the other side of the planet so that our orbits would be synced and there'd be a planet in between. Now, they probably would have some kind of planet-side defenses, yes, that would be capable of hitting her. But I think if we just stay a little bit further out, we could maybe not have to worry about it, and we could do runs to get the water we need. It wouldn't be ideal, but for now, I think our mission today might be better off as a run-in, get the intelligence we can, and head back. He's just like, in case we go aboard and things go sideways, we have to return to the Periphery today. Ideally with the next minimize risk as much as we can. That's all I'm thinking. And I'm not an expert.
You're saying go straight to the planet versus go to the relay station?
He kind of makes a gesture like, I think the relay station's not a threat.
Oh no, I'm not saying that it's a threat, but it would give us a good indication as to what this life form, who this life form is, I shouldn't say what, who this life form is, what kind of technology they might have, and any history. If we can look at their sensors, look at their logs, even if they have video log, even if we can't understand them right now, I mean, we still have to find a way to try to communicate with the species. And if we just jump down to a planet and they don't know us from Bob, that they might automatically become hostile towards us because we're coming to their planet and they can't understand us. We can't understand them. We can get Rakam to come up with some sort of translator for us or something. I think that would be helpful, especially if we need to leave people here.
I certainly can see the benefits of that. However, if we're looking at the limited resources we have, if we could get a scan closer of the planet itself to see if maybe there's a less densely populated area that could limit our first contact with whoever does live here. And even, I'm with Fida with this one, gathering some essentials such as water and perhaps being able to get more air on the vessel. She's not certain how those parts work, but I'm not saying necessarily in a scavenging sense, but also kind of in a scavenging sense. Because if our survival is the big thing at risk, or not only our survival, but to prepare for the colonists, not saying this would be a place to establish a colony, but that has been the main concern right now, would be resources. And if we find a less densely populated area, or at least to get closer, that may help, because there's no telling if we'll be able to understand any of the information that comes from this outpost. We may just end up more confused.
Right, and we may end up dead if we decide to bring some tankards from the large periphery down to the planet. And 2 hours on a outpost that's not populated at this time to give us some time to do research is a good use of time versus maybe wandering around a planet that we know nothing about.
Fair enough. You're the captain.
Yeah, I'll go along with it. Just there's an unspoken, but if things go sideways, I told you so.
Okay, so Captain, where are you going?
Oh, where am I going? I'm going to the relay station.
Okay.
To take a quick look around.
Okay, so you're going to head towards the relay station. Tamarisk, I have a feeling that you're going to rest, recuperate, perhaps, given all of the mental anguish.
Yes. Barely able to stand up at the moment.
Agreed. And so the periphery moves closer to the relay station and begins to hone in on one of these airlocks that it might be able to use to drop a few, we'll just say, travelers off. And that is where I'll call our episode to a close. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Children of the Periphery, Into the Unknown. We greatly appreciate your listening ears, and we hope you're enjoying all of the fun we're having. We will see you next time. So good night and good luck.